Hey everybody, it is Brian here with Fireside Digital once again. We are going to do a video today not about organic rankings, but about lead quick wins, how to get leads, how to quick win with leads using location pages. Now you can call them service areas, you can call them location pages, suburb pages, essentially how to rank in the cities that surround the city that your business is in. So I'm in Houston. We're going to talk about the cities that surround Houston. We're not going to use too much of the work that we did before with Window World of Houston and Gulf Coast Windows. I'll just give you an example and show you a little bit of how they're doing things. I've dug into it pretty deep. I actually shot like an hour-long video and decided nobody's going to watch an hour-long video. So we're just going to get into the nitty-gritty of location pages. So the first thing, I'll just dive into Window World of Houston. We'll grab them. The first thing we're going to talk about is the actual location pages themselves. You must have them. They're simple wins, and the more you have, the better. And we'll talk about what that looks like as well. But first, let's talk about how you get them to your main website. You can either have them accessible to clients through your main pages, or you can just have them and they're just there, but they're not through one of your structures. So for Gulf Coast Windows, I know we can go to About, we can go to Service Areas, and we can see some of the areas they service. Their structure is terrible here. Their main pages don't hold the Houston city pages. The Galveston page actually holds the city pages, but here nor there, they're accessible from the website. That's all we're going to look at with them. Gulf Coast Windows, however, they are not accessible, but they are there. And I can tell you if you want to hack your competitor and just see what they have, you can go grab. I'll link this in the bottom of the video, and you can just see every page on a website by using this sitemap.xml. It's a WordPress site. They have Yoast, and we can just go click pages. Now I know that Gulf Coast Windows has a ton, and we can come down here and we can see Kingwood, Missouri City, Sugar Land, Mission Bend. They have Missouri. They don't have Mission Bend. Fort Worth. We can see they're in Dallas, West University Place, and we talked about before they should separate their Dallas location from their Houston location, but that'll be a later date video. So they have them as well, and they have a lot here. They probably have. I would say 25, maybe 30 cities, but that is split between two different areas. So you must have them. It is a must. It is a quick win if you can rank them high for the location. Now, I've done some research, and we're just going to use Gulf Coast Windows. We'll use Katy, Texas window replacement. This is a suburb of Houston, and Gulf Coast is advertising here. Gulf Coast is nowhere to be found on page 1. Let's just go see if they're on page 2. They are not. We got Window World of Houston on page 2. Their main page is ranking for this, and if you gave me their site, I could probably get them on page 1, if not in the top 5 for Katy, just by restructuring what they have. So Gulf Coast Windows isn't here. I can see they are doing some work in Katy, but I know if I click on one of these pages, it's going to be super thin content. Otherwise, they'd be ranking. So you have probably content that's been used for every single page. Just don't do it if it's your main, one of your main areas, and we'll talk about how to find those here in just a second. So first thing, location pages, service area pages, suburb pages. For the sake of this, we'll call them location pages moving forward. You must have them. The more you have, the better. The more, the better. Now, saying that, the more you have that are customly created, the better. You can mass page build them, which we'll talk about in just a minute, but you must have them. The more you have, the better. Now let's talk about how do we find the pages that we want to build out for our suburbs. First, you're going to know it. Like, that's just going to be automatic. You know what cities surround your business that have a high population. You know your cities, but we will do it based on population first. And we usually do cities over 50,000 or cities we know are up or coming. So you're going to use your own judgment for this. And let's just get this down the line. So how do we find the population pages? Pretty straightforward, right? Cities around Houston by population, something I've done before. Now, this is Wikipedia, so it's not going to be super accurate. People can change this. It's probably not going to have the most up-to-date census data. So that's where, again, your brain comes in for you to do that work. So if I was going to create a list, and I'm not going to create an actual list, but we can see our biggest cities are right here. So we got League City, Pasadena, Pearland, Sugar Land, Cypress. I don't know that that's true, but it has grown pretty much over the last few years, so it might be. So we would build, I would build, and I'll just tell you what we'd build, and we do. We build all these. We build the Woodlands. We build Baytown, Conroe. I don't build Deer Park. It's close enough to Pasadena. I don't have to. Friendswood. We don't have a lot of clients that actually service Galveston. We build Lake Jackson. We build LaPorte, Missouri City, Rosenberg, and Texas City. We build Spring. We do build Mission Bend in some cases, depending on where the client is servicing. We don't build Channel View. We do Kingwood. And then we come in down here and we can see I build Humble. We build Katy. We build Richmond. So you'll know your cities. So do something like this. Figure out your cities by population you want to build. Custom. Now, I say there's two different versions of this. One is custom, and that is you're going to structure it basically with custom content, and you're going to use statistics. You're going to use links, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And the other is mass. And mass page building is basically just creating a page for it, putting 2 or 3 sentences of content, and in that content, and 2 or 3 paragraphs of content, but that content will be the same across any of the other cities that you would use, and you're just going to change the name. So one would be brianswindowcompany.com/Plum Grove, and then in the first paragraph, Plum Grove is a beautiful city surrounding Houston, and then I would just have 3 paragraphs with just basically fluff, whatever you want to call it, and then for every single one of them, I would just change the word Plum Grove in the content and Plum Grove in the URL, and that would be the end of the page. I would hope they ranked, but it wouldn't be something that was detrimental. But the more of them that do rank and the smaller it gets, the easier it is to rank mass pages, the more authority your main site will get as well. So let's jump back over here. So we know we can build it based on population. The other thing we build is based on income level. And that sounds a little crazy, but trust me, I will explain how it works. And again, you want to custom build these. These are all custom builds. There is no mass building here. Anything that you mass build in this area will be picked up from the population standpoint. So I can tell you that I custom build Piney Point Village because I know that the lowest pricing house in Piney Point Village is going to be $2 million. And if I'm a window company, I can build in Richmond in a $200,000 house that has 15 windows or 10 windows maybe. It's going to be a $5,000 job. If I come over to Piney Point and the house is 7,000 square feet, it could be a $50,000 window job depending on what kind of windows they want, right? So we only custom build based on income, and I'll show you how we find those. Income levels, Houston map is what we're going to type in here. And city data, your city should have something like this. You'll be able to find it. We're going to let this load, and then we're going to zoom in because it's bringing too many things into the picture here that we don't need. And I can see basically, you can zoom out a little more on the map, and I can see the income levels down here, right? And as we move through this, you can see it's certain pockets that are getting tailored for these super high income clients, and these are 250 to 240, and it's already on the map. So we'll dig in a little bit farther, and I'll show you why Piney Point's one of the ones we build. So you can see over here at Piney Point, one of the super high end clients are right there. So we build Piney Point, we build Hunters Creek, we build Bunker Hill. Now, these are cities, they're smaller cities incorporated inside of the main city, but we build them custom because, and I'll show you, we got Piney Point window replacement. Show you how Google works real quick. So Google is a location-based search. It knows where you are when it you search based on your physical address and your IP address, depending if you've let Google see your location. So we can see here in the map pack that there is no actual company that does residential foundation repair that is located in the Piney Point city limit. It would cost an arm and a leg to be located there, but there's nothing directly in there. So the map pack is only dedicated to glass companies in that general area. Then you have Home Advisor, and then we can see that Gulf Coast has gone in and done some work to get in the Piney Point rankings. It wouldn't take a lot to get here, really, because it's not a huge city. I forget the population, we could go look at it, but I still would build a custom page for this because I know if somebody types in window replacement or replacement windows and they're in Piney Point, this is typically what they're going to see from a ranking standpoint. So you do want those higher end areas that have high income levels, custom built pages. And we'll talk about that in a second. If I'm in Bel Air, so Window World of Houston's there. Still not a lot of, say Gulf Coast Windows is here again. Superior Window Company, actually, and I'm assuming they're not in there. You can see Gulf Coast is in there twice because they built mass pages. They have mass pages built to these because I'm assuming one of these ties to the other, and there's not going to be a ton of original content here. Let's jump back one and check this one out. All right, so I'm assuming, and this is just an assumption, that this would look like the content that's on Piney Points, and we can actually just jump back and look real quick and just see what they have. It'll be structured close to, and it is. It's basically the same stuff, and they just move around the words. So this is actually mass page built. You could mass page build it, and if you weren't ranking for it, then start to work on how to rank for it. So we talked about how we find them. We find them two ways. We do it by population. We do it by income. We custom built all of our income pages that we're doing, location pages based on income, and we do our larger populated cities or our up and coming populated cities, we build custom, and then the teeny tinies that we just want to fill in the gaps with, we can mass page build. And we talked about what mass page building is. It's essentially creating 3 paragraphs, all that say the same thing, and all we do is change the URL at the top, and then we just find and replace the cities inside of the actual content. Now let's talk about how we structure them. I guess you can get your web developer to create it, or you can create it yourself, but let's talk about how we structure those pages. So for our custom built pages, we have an exact process that we use to do it. The pages themselves need to be 500 to 1,000 words. Custom content, and I'm going to say this over and over and over, custom content always wins over mass built content. So if you have 2 people fighting for Piney Point here in the Houston area, and one of them has done 1,000 words and it's custom content, it's based on the history, they've wrote it, they've had somebody write it in their own words, they're doing the correct linking, they will win against somebody that's only doing a mass page almost 9 out of 10 times, unless the site that's doing it is just absolutely terrible. The custom content that you have written, if you're going to do this yourself, basically if I was doing it, let's just say I'm doing it for Katie, Texas history, we just would go in and find like the history of Katy, Texas maybe, and talk about that for a minute. Katy is a city, and you don't want to write this obviously exactly, nor do you want to capture this, but Katy is a city in West Houston, I already know that, that continues to grow and flourish since its establishment in wherever it was established. We need to go find it down here somewhere, and then we would link to that, and we'll talk about all that in just a second. But then you want to talk about obviously windows and window replacement on that page. But I would dedicate, and we do dedicate, 1 paragraph to the actual city. So there is 1 paragraph. So it's 1 paragraph dedicated directly to the city only, and then as many paragraphs as you want talking about window replacement and how the city ties in. When we do city pages, we only mention the city 3 times typically, so it'll be in your URL, it's going to be in your title, and it's going to be other places in the content. One of those is a link, and we'll talk about those in just a second. And the other two can just be in there, but you don't want to overstuff it. Every single sentence shouldn't say Katy, Texas, Katy, Texas, Katy, Texas, Katy, Texas. You're just overdoing it. There's no reason. Just write naturally, or have it written naturally, or inspect it and rip out anything that's not written naturally. Just as you would talk, you wouldn't sit and talk to somebody and say in Katy, Texas, in Katy, Texas, in Katy, Texas, in Katy, Texas, while you're having a conversation about it, right? You might say Katy, you might say Katy, Texas, you might say out west, you might say in Cinco. You will know the area. So don't overstuff. Absolutely write naturally when you do it. So for the custom built pages, again, in your content, which has to be a minimum of 500, I would even move this now to about 800. And if you want to see how many words of content, check the competition. So if the first 2 or 3 pages have 1,000 words of content, write 1,000 words of content. Actually, probably 1,100. I go 10% over. In your content, you're going to have 3 links that go to a few different places, and one is your own. So paragraph 1 for these links, or paragraph 1 through 3, somewhere in the beginning. Let's just say somewhere, yeah, in the first paragraph. You are going to, awesome. You're going to link back to the page you're writing currently. I know that's going to sound crazy. And that will, that link, oh, sorry. That link will be something like window, if you are looking for a super window repair company in Katy, and you will link this window repair company back to your my site / Katy page. And we'll talk about URL structure here in a second. But literally, this will point right back to the page that it is on. Google will read window repair company in Katy and say, hey, this page is about that, even though we've structured other things to do that. This does not need to be, should not be your main keyword, but it needs to basically say that you are a company that does this service in this city. So that is link number 1. I should probably just call it link number 1. And actually, it's already spaced us all out. So link number 1 is where we're at there. Let's come back here. Link 2 will be something statistic. Like, how terrible is this thing? Like, your formatting is terrible. Note ++. Link to a statistic. Anywhere in the content. Doesn't matter where this is. This means, for example, if you talk about the population, just link to it. If you talk about the temperature, maybe you do roofing, weather, link to it. Maybe you talk about the history, when it's founded, link to it. For example, let's just do population of Katy, Texas. Maybe you say Katy with a population of Katy proper 18,000 people. We could just take the 18,000 or a population of, the words population of 18,000 people, and link it back to this, an outbound site with authority that is statistical. It needs to be statistical. We always use statistics, and it helps them rank. So we have our first link already there. We have our second link. We have our first link with our main keyword phrase, a variation of it, pointing back to the main page. We have our second link that's statistical. Maybe it's the population, maybe it's the weather, maybe when it was founded. You figure out what fits your niche and put it there. And then we have, for the third link, is the link to the city page. and pretty straightforward. So find the city page, link to it. Every city has a page typically tied to it, so we can see, just do Katy, Texas here. So cityofkaty.com, and this will go in the last paragraph typically. One of the last links I put in here is this one. So we'll jump in and we'll write a bunch of content. This is the final, typically the final paragraph will contain this. And it is the actual city page. So it would say, and it would be the anchor text, by the way. Sorry if I didn't make that clear on this. Anchor text. So this would be wrapped. If you don't know how to do that, just go to like anchor text creator. I'm sure there is something. Yeah, anchor text creator. Well, not bulk, but we'll just do it here. I don't know if this actually is a tool. So we would do Katy, Texas. Somewhere towards the end, our thing would say in Katy, Texas. We would do this, open the link in the new window. We'll generate the anchor text. And here's the anchor text. So this is what it would look like if you're doing it yourself. Basically, it would say Katy, Texas. When you clicked on Katy, Texas, it would take you to the City of Katy, Texas page. Same thing with this. This is the anchor text window repair company in Katy, and it basically takes you back to the URL of the page we were just building. And then the population, same thing. So if the word population is there with the population of 18,000, this is the anchor text, and when you click on it, the link takes you to the world population page that we looked at just a minute ago. So here's our structure so far. We know we're going to custom build the page for our custom builders. We know they're going to have 800 to 1,000 words of content. We know that a single page at least should be dedicated to only the city. Talking about it, saying something about the trees, the parks, the beauty, the families, the homes. One other thing we do like to do is talk about neighborhoods specifically in the city. So like for this, you know, with Falcon Point, Cinco Ranch, and Cross Creek Ranch, Katy is a beautiful place to live, blah, blah, blah. That helps adds a little bit of authority to it because Google knows that Cinco Ranch is in Katy, Falcon Creek is in Katy, and things of that nature. So just adds another bit of something you can talk about. Strategically build the custom pages. If they're garbage, they won't rank really well. And so we're also going to embed a Google map on this page. And we do that the same way we've done other things. So we'll go in here and type Piney Point up in this area here. And it'll take us to Piney Point, Texas. We can see that. We're going to share. And then we're just going to grab a map embed, typically medium. You can put this directly into the text of WordPress if you're doing that yourself, and it will populate this. But you do want to make sure that you have your Google Map embedded on your main city pages and your alternate pages if you have the time to do that. You don't have to, but it's pretty quick and simple if you're going through your mass built city pages as well. There's no reason to actually not take the time. You're changing the URL, you're changing the keywords, you might as well just grab a map and embed it pretty quick. It will slow your site down a little bit, but these are location pages. It's not your main page. You want your main page of your site to be as fast as you can for all the things you're ranking for, but this one can be a little bit slower. And then you also want to make sure that you have a picture on that page. Do not use pictures that aren't licensed. Make sure if your web designer is building for you, they find pictures for you, but for instance, you can do pictures of Katy, Texas. And then you can go into the images and you can click on settings and you can do advanced search, and really you can ask you for any type of image you want to come down, not any type, usage rights. You want to make sure it's free to use, share, or modify even commercially, and then search. And even then, it's not for sure that these are. So always go in, dig in, grab your image. Don't be crazy naming your image. The image naming conventions call it what it is. And if I was naming, let's say, this image, beautiful fountain in Katy, Texas, I would call it that. I'd do fountain in Katy. exactly what I would name it. You don't need to over optimize it. I would probably make it the right words. Um, and then next, we know that we're going to get links in it, so we have our content done. So let's talk about the actual URL structure. So you have your URL, you have your title, you have your H1s, you have your H2s. So the URL we'll get into, we have your title tag, we'll get into, and then we have our H1. And after that, we have basically your H2 through H4. If you're using H5s and 6s, you could probably stop unless you're writing 3,000 or 4,000 words of content. So um, for our URL, you're going to have mysite.com/citystate. Just keep it simple. So like this would be Katy, Texas. Some people will jump in and be like mysite.com or just do like gulfcoastwindows.com/ like you can see it up here, window replacement Piney Point Village. That's fine. If you find you're not ranking, just cut it down to just the place you're trying to rank. Piney Point Village, like Google's gonna get the gist. They know where you are. The title tag would be then you want to get into your exact keyword. So it's like window replacement Katy, Texas, or KDTX. You don't have to do the KDTX part. I like to in almost all cases. Then your H1 is going to be a derivative of that. So your first heading tag after that is going to be something like best window replacement company in Katy. I wouldn't put the text TX there again. You don't need it. Katy's now there 3 times. Your H2 through your H4 do not need to mention Katy or replacement windows. It can, but it's not necessary. So like great windows, great vinyl windows, it doesn't matter at that point. You just want to use your URL. Keep it simple, your title, your keyword exactly, your H1, just a derivative of the keyword. You could build every city with this exact thing. So it could be window replacement Sugarland, Texas. It could be window replacement Conroe, Texas. Window replacement The Woodlands, Texas. Best window replacement company Sugarland, Texas. You can use this for everything. Just change up your H2s to your H4s. The other thing you can do with your H2s and your H4s with the location pages is dig into what pulls a map pack. So like best window replacement, and just see if best pulls a map pack to show up, and try to optimize for some of those. If you're building your site just for lead gen, I strongly recommend you do that. I don't know what's going on with the internet. And you can see that does trigger a map pack, and you can come down here and look at other things. So like replacement windows, window repair case me. So replacement windows is another one. So top rated window. You can do top rated window replace. So you got some that flip here, and we can see, and then we can come down here again and see best windows, best window brands, window replacement reviews. So you might do like best reviewed company or top reviewed company. H2 to H4, absolutely up to you. Doesn't make a huge difference. Just don't put like we suck at putting windows in. It wouldn't help you. So that's the structure for your main pages. Now, the next thing that you want to do is make sure that you go in and we want to make sure we index them. So you should be tied to or know how to get into Google Search Console. At the top of Google Search Console, it literally is just a big opening that says, hey, do you want to request the index? Yes, I do. So you plug your URL into the top. Let's just drop this in here of Google Search Console. Typically within 48 hours, sometimes it's within hours, the page will get indexed, and you'll be able to find it in the Google index by typing in whatever. Then go see where your rank is. See where you're at. Then you wait, typically a few weeks to see where it's going to settle at. And then you look at the rank. Now, once you've done that, while you're waiting, you can build more pages. So build more custom pages, build more mass pages, just build more pages. Build as many as you possibly can. or pay somebody to build as many as they possibly can. Like maybe you're probably not going to be doing all this work, right? Um, so what happens? We've done all this work. We know how to do that. What happens if we don't rank? Like that's the question. What happens if I am, let's just do KD window. We've already seen window world of Houston isn't ranking on this front page. I didn't actually go look to see if Gulf Coast Windows is. All right, so we see window world of Houston's on page 2 here. We don't want to be on page 2. So if I was window world of Houston first, I would actually fix the structure of the whole thing. But second, then we need to add some authority to what we have done. There's 2 ways to do that. You can build out niche specific mass pages. Absolutely, and that is, let me give you an example of what that looks like. Let's just do, we already talked about what mass pages are. They're essentially 3 pages of content, or 3 paragraphs of content, and you don't really need to link out with any of them at all. You can link back to, on one of the pages, I like to link back to MapQuest. So like, for whatever reason, it gives a little bit of a boost, flip tip. So you're stealing my my thunder, but I like to link back in MapQuest, and sometimes I will do it just by zip. So I'll be like MapQuest 77479, and I'll have that. If I build 5 niche-specific pages, I'll probably use a zip code in the bottom of each one, 1 zip code, and build a mass page for each one. And what do I mean by mass pages? Let me just jump up here, and you can see Gulf Coast Windows has a presence here with a page. If we keep moving through, let's just have a look at page 2. So state has 2 different pages, statewide or remodeling. All right, so let's jump back to Gulf Coast real quick, and I'll show you what some mass niche pages are. So these are niche, however you want to say it, specific. So here's Gulf Coast Windows. This is their Sugarland page. It's not a huge page. It's got just a little bit of content, but they are ranking for it. And I would say, as you look at their content, and we're going to do 77041. They're actually Bunker Hill, I think that is 77041. Jersey Village. So they're a little bit north. As you look through their content, as we go in and check them out, which we'll do here, and we're just going to type their sitemap in, we can see that they have done a relatively good job of mass page building their niche. And we can check Sugarland, and we can see that they have a vinyl window replacement Sugarland page. They have a Sugarland replacement window page. They have a window replacement page built for Sugarland only. They have an aluminum window page, and this is their main page that we already saw before. But if we go in and look at the rest of them, we can see that they've mass page built. Let me just jump into one that looks like it's mass page built. All right, so they've mass page built this. This just is residential windows, window replacement, Sugarland, Texas. And they have 3 other pages dedicated to Sugarland with minimum content on it. So there's one, it's got 77498 in it. They're actually following, their SEO is really good. Whoever's doing all this work for them is exceptional. Another one with a single paragraph, and a final one with a single paragraph. Now you can take what they have done here and mass page build that yourself. So that's one way to do it, is build niche specific mass pages. So we're talking about Sugarland, Texas. Their URL is super duper long. It doesn't need to be all this, but let's say they have multiple services. You could build one for, well, let's keep using KD vinyl windows. You could do one for KD aluminum windows. Whatever your niche fits, you can page build that way. Now you can do 5 or 6 of these mass pages. None of them really need to tie to each other. They just need to be there talking about things. That's it. And that's how you do niche specific pages. But we'll talk about this in a second. What if you only have one niche? Like what if I am a emergency plumber. That's my only job in the whole world. I can't talk about different things I do because I only do emergency plumbing. Then you do location pages, or you do location specific pages only. We typically don't mass build niche pages. We will do location specific pages, and we will do one, follow this process here, wait for the index, and build another one if we're not ranking yet. So we'll build our mass pages, then we'll do one location specific page if we're not where we need to be. And a location specific page is as follows. It's about a place in the city. It links back to our main page somewhere, main city page. Somewhere. It doesn't matter with the anchor text, with the city anchor text. So it would be basically the word Sugarland in Sugarland, or it would be the word Katy, and Katy would tie back to mysite.com, and that's it, /Katy. So that's basically it. But we want to make this page the same as the other custom pages. This is basically going to be 800 to 1,000 words on a place in the city. And what does that look like? I'll show you that real quick. So if I'm using Katyland, or Katy, I'm going to do things to do in Katy. Then I'm going to find TripAdvisor, and TripAdvisor is going to tell me the 10 best things to do in Katy. So Mary Jo Peckham Park is one of the top things I'm going to do in Katy, so I will go find Mary Jo Peckham Park. I'm just going to grab this. I can look at some of the pictures if I want to get an idea of what you can do there. Clearly there's a park, fun place for the kids to play. It looks like a safe environment. It's got ample parking, I can see that. It's got a lake that looks, maybe you can fish that lake. And so we'll just actually go in and find all about Mary Peckham Park. And we will build 800 word count about Mary Jo Peckham Park. In the bottom of that page, we will link to this exact map. And I'll show you how we would do that. So we're going to talk about the words in the city. We already talked about somewhere in there we're going to have anchor text back. And then we are in this page link to the Google map, or embed, sorry. We're going to embed the Google map on this page. So we'll just hop over to this exact map, or you can just, the easiest way to do this is Google Maps. And we'll come in here and we'll type in Mary Jo Peckham, and it'll finish it for me. Mary Jo Peckham Park. It'll pop the map up with the my business, or GMB, over here. We'll click share. We'll embed the map. And then we just need to go to our source code. We'll put a small one. If you do it on the main page, I don't do this in the footer. For the main page, we'll grab this and we'll go plug it into our site so this appears on that. So you got 800 to 1,000 words of custom content. You've got the Google map embedded. You've got one anchor text that ties just back to the actual city page that you have. And then we let it ride for, again, then we go here, we index it, we wait to see how long it indexes, then we wait 2 weeks, and we see where the page ranks. If the page doesn't rank, we do another one of these. And we'll do north, south, and east and west in any city. You can do it with the top of TripAdvisor, gives you a map, and you can see, here's Mary Jo Peckham Park. Maybe I do this Typhoon, Texas Water Park. Maybe I do this Memorial Park over here, and then maybe Limo Palace probably isn't something I would actually do. I'd probably get in a little bit closer, see if there's something else I could find over here. So maybe I do the maybe Memorial War Veteran, and that's how you continue, and you can actually get, 2 or 3. The ranking is 2 or 3 with this tactic. It's super location specific, is super effective at ranking your locations. So that's about it. The one thing I do want to say about these main pages is get rid of your main city in any of the verbiage if you possibly can. We actually build custom footers for our location pages that remove the words Houston anywhere in that. So if I'm trying to rank a page for Katy, Texas, I will actually, our builder, Astra and Elementor, are the WordPress builders we use. I will actually remove the words Houston from it, and it will actually just have our phone number, location, Katy, Texas, and then the social profile, and that's it. We try to get rid of all instances of any other location. So it wouldn't say in Piney Point, Texas, and the surrounding Houston areas. I just wouldn't, we don't do that. We remove that. So just a quick tip. I forgot to mention a little while ago, and I just started thinking about it. Been a solid 38 minutes of discussion on location pages. If you have questions, feel free to hit me up at brian@firesidedigital.net. Feel free to drop it in the comments. But that is the long and tedious process of building out your location pages.